It seems like it's been 40 weeks since you got 40 winks. Your back pain? Unbearable. Tossing, turning, trying to find that pain-free position. And that's the moment you realize you can't spend another waking moment putting off treatment.
The Joint and Spine Center is Cincinnati's leading destination for spine care, with a ton of surgical and non-surgical treatments for back pain. So when a moment has the power to change the rest of your life, go to the one place with the power to change it for the better, the Christ Hospital Health Network. This changes everything.
The Pound This podcast is brought to you by the Christ Hospital Health Network. This is the Pound This podcast, episode 634, Shay's Weight Loss Journey Weekly Updates.
I want to lose weight, but I don't know how to get started.
What should I meal prep every week?
How do I get those sweet booty gains?
Inspiration for your healthy lifestyle. The Pound This podcast with Amanda Valentine.
Thank you so much for listening to the Pound This podcast. I'm Amanda Valentine. This is Shay. What's up, Shay?
Hey girl, what's up?
How you doing?
You know, I'm doing great here in this little winter wonderland.
Oh, yeah. Well, you know what? I mean, at the time of recording this podcast, they were saying for days here in Cincinnati, like, we're going to be measuring the snow in feet.
Ugh.
And I'm like, there's no way, because every time they say that, it's wrong. Every freaking time. And yes, we got like 3 inches of snow.
Well, I'm glad we got anything because they closed the salon at 2 p.m. yesterday. And I was like, if it doesn't snow, they will never close us again.
That's true. But we did get like a solid amount of
ice.
sleet. Yeah. I mean, I cleaned off my car and everything already this morning and did some shoveling. And it was not as bad as I thought it was going to be. Actually, everything just kind of wiped right off of my windshield. And I'm like, oh, hell yeah. I'm like, okay, well, this isn't that bad. But we're supposed to get another storm like in a day or two. And
now, when I'm also supposed to be working. So I may not work at all this week.
This is the one that has the potential to be like this huge snowstorm, because they're like, oh, it's like the, whatever. It's the like the who cares storm after the big one. And so this one's probably going to dump a foot of snow on us.
Yeah. And I'm so excited because every time it snows, I get woken up at 4:30 in the morning by a snowblower. Yes.
Yeah, it's a benefit, I guess, a benefit of owning a house where, nobody's waking me up to do it, but I have to just go out and do it myself.
I know. It's good exercise, though.
It is. I mean, I like doing it because of the cardio. Although today when I did it, and I am so weird and awkward. As much of my life has been like professional, like communication of like meeting so many people. Like left to my own, like in my own home, I am the most introverted person. If anyone knocks on my door, like I hit the floor and hide. Like I do not, and like our next door neighbors, they just moved in and bought this house that was flipped right after COVID started. So it was like they moved in like maybe the end of March, beginning of April in 2020. And they're like our age. They seem super cool. They got a dog. They got a cat. Like they seem like we should be like best friend neighbors. And we're so freaking awkward that we never talk to them and ever. And like we actively avoid, we want to be friends with them, but we still avoid because we're freak shows. And even this morning I was out there shoveling and she came out and shoveled at the same time. Like, this is my opportunity because I've never talked to her of like being like, hey, whatever. Instead, I just ran inside. I stopped shoveling.
Are you serious?
I don't know what's wrong with me.
Amanda.
I'm like, I didn't want it to be weird.
So you made it weirder.
No, because I did have to come in and start recording this podcast, though. I was on a timeline.
Yeah. Yep. Sure you were. I'm the opposite. I'm like, I see my neighbors and I'm like, oh my God, let's talk.
Yeah, see, you're an extrovert, though. I'm not. And that's where I'm like, I what I need to do is like be like drunk in the backyard or something. And then they're like, come on over. I just need to be drunk to talk to them, because then when I am that like socially awkward and quiet, especially when I worked in radio and somebody's like tells them where I work, they're just like, oh, well, does she hate me then? Is she just like a mega bitch because she like avoids me? I'm like, no, because I will avoid everyone unless it's a situation where I need to talk to someone.
Oh my God. Oh,
I don't know why
funny.
I'm like that. I've always been like, even like as a kid, I like would have so much anxiety about like calling somebody on the phone. Cause I mean, there was no internet because I'm old. So it'd be like, if you wanted to like call the video store to see if a video was there or anything, like I would just freeze, and it just felt like my body was being filled with knives. Like I just can't do it. It's so weird. And then I built a whole career of doing that. It's I don't
I
know.
was like that with the phone when I was younger, but as soon as I got my first job, that went away. So I was like, oh, I gotta actually be an adult and make phone calls now.
Oh, yeah. Well, see, I had to do
But
that a lot with radio jobs, especially jobs where I was a producer of like calling and lining up interviews and stuff, but I always just really hated it. That's why it's so interesting for me. I know we're going off on a tangent here, but like that I've always felt that way, especially in radio, like call this, like, line up a phone call with the mayor or somebody, like, your boss would be like, oh my God, dude, that's not such an inside joke that we had a consultant here at my last radio station. Every time because they come in and be like, well, I want to tell you how to do radio better, even though I haven't been on the air since the 80s. And it was like, did you get the mayor on the phone? Could you get a live band in the studio? And like, so that was an inside joke with, everybody that was on the air. Of like, did you get the mayor on the phone? Like, who the hell? I don't even know who the mayor of Cincinnati is. I didn't get him on the damn phone for what? And so anyway, I hated doing that stuff until I started this podcast. And then it felt like it flowed through me. It's no problem me reaching out to people, asking people for interviews, interviewing people. So that was a huge eye opener for me doing Pound This, of like, oh, I just thought I wasn't this person that couldn't do those things. Of like, it just depends on what the circumstances are. When it's calling to get, dumb people on the radio about like, hey, mayor, tell me about the snowfall in Cincinnati. What are the snow plows doing? Like that, I don't care. But when it comes to talking about somebody who has a weight loss journey or is doing something in the community and like to help with health and fitness, I'm like, oh yeah, I'll pick up the phone and call them. I got no problem. So I don't know. It's weird how that works. And I am super thankful, especially on snow days like this, that I am not on the radio, that I don't have to make those weird phone calls of, here's Randy driving the snowplow. What's 71 look like, Rando? And if you don't do that stuff, and then your boss is in your ass and tells you that you suck at your job. And so you just throw these people on the air just so you don't get yelled at. So it's not even like good radio at that point. It's just you're doing something to fill space so someone else isn't like, how come you didn't get God on the phone to talk about snow?
Oh my God. No, when I was watching the news last night, it was killing me. Like all these people out in the middle of nowhere with the snow having to like talk about it.
Oh my God.
And it was like they were at one point they were like, we're over here near Rookwood. Here's a look at the interstate. And it's just like no cars, nothing. It wasn't even like showing slow traffic. It was just like the white highway and nothing at all.
Well, that exact same I have that all the time because I don't know about TV, but I know enough about media to understand probably the back end of TV. Like this morning we watched because we wanted to see what like storm totals were across the country to see like the Today Show, but local news was on. And like even Mike was just like, they sent some chick to Hamilton. And so they're like, they made her drive in dangerous road conditions, which is what the news story is. So she could stand there in a parking lot in Hamilton. Like, why? Why? Like,
yeah, there was last night, there was some street that wasn't passable that they were like well, hopefully John can get up there, like trying to get him up this street that isn't supposed to even be passable. They're like, oh, that's your job, buddy. Good luck.
Yeah, it's just the endless content stream of, that's everything. That's social media influencers, everything of just, you have to keep cranking out content. So then you just throw anything at the wall because when you have to create it every single day, that's why I'm like, I feel things like watching health and fitness influencers, like some of the stuff that they, it either gets repetitive or they really are reaching real far. Cause it's like to be in the algorithm of no matter what social media platform you're on, you have to keep cranking it out. And there's only so much you can do. And there's only so much bandwidth in your brain then is the information you're getting even good if that person is just exhausted throwing anything to post because they just are afraid to lose their social media audience. So I don't know. I have a hard time looking at that stuff without looking through those eyes just because of my experience, which I feel like is frustrating and also helpful of, just having some empathy for these people, but also realizing not everything is the best advice ever when they're making memes and stuff of everything, of just because they just needed to post something today sometimes.
Yeah. They just had to come up with something.
Yeah. And I don't know. It's just, I'm on an algorithm right now on TikTok of a lot of like weight loss hacks and stuff like that. And so, which I was on, for some reason, I was on some tarot card algorithm for a while. And I was talking to a couple other people and they were on the tarot card algorithm too. And now it's gone from that to weight loss. And specifically the algorithm on TikTok I'm on right now is people that are like, hey, I used to be overweight. Now I'm not. Let me dispel some myths about weight loss for you. And I was like, well, this makes sense that this is my algorithm, but it's interesting.
Yeah.
Do you get that too? Are you on just on cat TikTok?
Cat TikToks, political TikToks. I get some weight loss ones, but honestly not that many because I don't generally like those. So
yeah. I mean, I generally appreciate them, but I don't interact with them, if that makes. I don't really interact with much. The only things that I do interact with is if I want to save it to send to someone else or to show Mike later. Yeah. I'm on all social media. I'm bad with interacting, of commenting and liking, and I don't know. I'm just such again with the introvert thing, hit the floor and hide. That
I'll like stuff, but I generally don't comment on stuff ever.
Yeah, I don't. I will make it a point to try to comment on everyone's comment for me and respond to everyone.
Right.
But to go out of and it's again I don't want to seem like I don't care about people's things or I don't appreciate them. I don't know. That's just an Amanda tick, I guess, of where I'm I don't really go out of my way too much to comment. That's just how I behave.
You're because I'm going to run back inside.
I do. I just want to lurk and I just want to hide. And that's generally what I mean. That's where I'm COVID's been good and bad, where at first it was ooh, this is awesome. And it was really exciting for me. And now it's just kind of okay, this is enough.
I'm done being inside.
Yeah. It's, even though it's, I did watch, because I haven't watched the news so much at all in the past several months, that it was a national news story, because I think Mike had it on, and they were just talking about is it safe to go back to gyms and stuff like that? And I'm like, oh man, where are they talking about? Because here in Ohio, that has not been an issue at all. And I'm it must be California and some other states that I don't even, if gyms are closed or not. And again, that's where it's so hard if we're also segmented, not only in the United States, but from the world and how each country is behaving right now, where it's oh, well, in Ohio, yeah, you can go to a gym it's normal, just distance and have a mask on and clean up after yourself, which is good practice to do no matter if you're in a pandemic or not, is clean up your machine afterwards, please. But yeah, I didn't know, oh man, I didn't realize so many people weren't allowed to go to gyms and still.
Right. Yeah. It is interesting because each state is so different. And on Instagram, I follow so many people from all over the place that it's weird whenever I see stuff about them not being able to go to the gym. Because here, now, gyms have been open since May.
Yeah.
So it's just I don't know. It just feels normal.
Oh man. And I need it too. Even
dude,
I didn't go to the gym the past couple days just to leave myself to at-home workouts. Again, it's just part of me is I struggle with it. I like doing the Peloton stuff on the bike, which I want to ask you about your bike here in a second.
Mm-hmm.
But it's so much harder for me, which it seems like it shouldn't be, because to go to the gym, it's to get dressed, get in the car, get there. It seems like it's more of a hassle than just doing it at home, but I'm way more likely to do that. And it's way better for my mental health. It's more of a release than doing it at home. And I don't know where that disconnect is. I wish that at-home workouts really did it for me, but they just don't.
Yeah, it's just a different experience. And it isn't really logical, but it feels different.
So I saw that you posted yesterday on Instagram that you did a butt ton of miles on your bike. How's that going?
Good. Yesterday, so the salon closed early. So normally I would be too tired after working a 12-hour day to do anything. But I just watched like an hour show on Netflix and rode my bike. So, and it's cool because there's like I can choose different like rides. So ones where like it will increase the level and then decrease it. So it's like constantly changing, which is nice because then I feel like I get a better workout than like just consistently staying on the same pace. But yeah, I love it because I can, just do stuff from home. Because other than like going to 360 and not doing anything else. So it's nice to just be able to hop on a bike at home. And it helps me. Like yesterday, I was just in like a weird mood and I just like kind of needed to get on the bike and like run it off or not run it off, ride it off. So it's helpful for my mental state too.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I love that your bike was only like $200 too.
Dude, yeah. And it's got like all the different like the rides I can pick from. I can like change the level. And I can see like it even does my heart rate. So it's cool.
Right on. That's awesome. And especially, with this like crappy weather that we're having here, it's nice to be like, well, if I can't make it to the gym for whatever reason, then you can still and then that's what I have too. I mean, I have a treadmill too, but I don't know. For some reason that jacks with my hips more, like walking in that exact same pattern instead of being like outside.
Right.
So, and I have a cheapo treadmill too. Like it wasn't much more expensive than that, but it doesn't incline or anything. But I use my crappy rusty bike more often than not. And then I do all my physical therapy exercises. And those, it's hard to get motivated to do too, because they're not very pleasant, but I can see the difference in them and I can feel like myself getting better and stronger. And I feel like that's kind of what pulls me to do those things too, of like, well, if I don't, I'm going to regress. And then going into these stretches is going to hurt even more, of like, gotta keep the stream going, because then I can do more of the things that I want. Like I was just telling you before we start recording, this podcast is going to come out before this podcast, but I recorded it yesterday with Elemental Fitness here in Cincinnati, which is all outdoor fitness stuff, like hardcore, like dragging logs, throwing rocks around, doing sprints at like all in a park outside. And I've been wanting to try it forever, but first it was my knees and now it's like my weird back stuff. But I'm like, I'm feeling confident from the exercises that I'm doing that by this summer, I'm going to be mobile enough to be able to do those things without being scared of hurting myself. And that's freaking huge. So, because I know so many people talk about like motivation and I don't feel any motivation to work out, but I feel like that's for me of like knowing incrementally I can get better and better and stronger in my own ways. So I can do some of these things that I've been wanting to try for a while is the reason to do it, instead of just being like, I don't feel like working out today. Working out's good for me and that's just what I should do. And it's like that kind of like, that's easy to blow off. But when it's like, when you feel progress, like I'm sure with you in the bike too, like when you do that, the same sort of class over and over again, to feel like that you don't feel it as beat up afterwards. I find that motivating to do something else because you can tell you're getting better.
Yeah. No, even when I first started losing weight, like on the treadmill, like, I mean, I couldn't walk very fast, or for very long. And then it was like watching myself progress to like how fast I could go. And then like even doing stuff on an incline, like that's just the treadmill. And that was exciting to see like myself progress on that too.
Yeah. I don't know. I think that stuff's super exciting. And I feel like before my whole bucket full of injuries and personal stressors, that I was really at a place where I could see myself, not only feel it, but visibly see like my muscles and getting stronger. And I think that's really exciting. But I think it's so hard because I think that when you can see those things, it becomes more motivating. But if you're at a point where you're like, you aren't visually seeing like yourself either like getting smaller or more muscles or whatever you want to see it visually, then it's easier to bail on it because you can't. And it's like all depending on how much body fat you have too. You're not going to be able to see muscle definition for a while, depending on how much weight you have to lose. And it's super discouraging, but it'll happen. You just got to hang in there for it. Like it's happening underneath layers of fat that you have. And it's not to sound like that's mean or a bad thing. It's just how it is. And I can see it's so much easier to bail on it when you're not getting that visual cueing of like, this makes a difference.
Right. Yeah. I think one of the biggest things for me has been like, even I have a friend who I'll go on long walks with. And I remember going on a walk with her, like, I don't know, this was a while ago now. It was at the beginning of me losing weight, and we walked like 5 miles and I thought I was going to die. Like I tried not to like communicate that to her because it was embarrassing to me, but I literally thought I was going to die by the end of that walk. And then now it's like no big deal for me at all. So like that kind of stuff is like, gets me hyped up. So
yeah. I mean, that's the stuff too that like I don't feel like we all focus on enough, because the focus becomes on the number on the scale, the size of the jeans, like all of these other things of like, that's freaking huge. But for some reason, we don't celebrate that as much as the number on the scale, which is disappointing.
Yeah, it is.
Because there's so many things now. And that's one of the things I don't think it's bad, but I don't know, I have weird feelings about, because I've been on this weight loss journey so long now, or it's been over 9 years, and some of those big drastic changes like were so long ago that I'm like, I don't want to forget that feeling. I don't want to forget it. And so it's
right.
It's weird that I just like really want to hold on to it, but some things, that's where I'm like, I'll forget until I see something that reminds me. Like one of the examples where it's just something that I just becomes my normal life now, and I don't worry or I don't think about it, was that just rubbing all of like my jeans, holes in my jeans and my thighs, and all of my pants for most of my life. Like I would just shred them because my chub rub, man, just like rubbing holes into all of my pants. And it's like I hadn't done that in so long that, I pulled up an old pair of jeans and I saw that they're all frayed and holes in them. And I'm like, oh God. I'm like, I don't want to forget about that, because that's such a win. Like that is such a difference in my life of something that I'm not self-conscious of, or something I'm just ruining all my pants. And then I'm like, I don't want to keep buying new pants, and then I'll just keep wearing them and hope people don't see the holes in my thighs. Of like, I just don't want to forget how big of a change that is, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, because it's funny because those things are such a big deal, but they're like, we're so quick to forget them.
Yeah.
So yeah. And it is interesting that you mentioned like how long that's been for you, because that stuff is still like fairly new for me. So I feel like for you, it would be harder to like remember all that stuff.
Yeah. That's where I'm like, what I like seeing things that were like, one of them is too, it was like a TikTok trend for like a second, or a few videos I saw where everybody like puts their shirt over their chin, so you wouldn't see your double chin. And I'm like, oh my God, I used to do that all the time. And now I'm like, I know if I'm looking at my phone, I got a double chin. I just don't care anymore. It's just my mindset's different of like, yeah, whatever. You know what I mean? Yeah. But that's just because I'm just different in how I behave now. But at the time, yeah, like anything would be like, I'd pull my shirt just to try to like hide my chins. And I'm like, oh God, I forgot I did that all the time. So like seeing those videos, it's just like, I can't take that for granted. Like that was, I felt so awful. And you already know that I hate my face. So
you and your freaking face. My face is the only thing I like about myself.
Aww,
we're like opposite. I'm like, if I could put my face on a different body, I'm like, and you're over here not liking your face.
I just don't like my forehead. It just feels like too much face. But, and then, and then like having, multiple chins and being super self-conscious of that. Yeah. Right. And yeah, it's weird. And it's weird about the things that I do feel good about myself. I don't know. I don't really give myself a ton of credit for stuff. I'm working on that. I'm working on the whole self-love thing. It's same. It's not easy.
No, it's going to literally be the rest of my life. I'm going to be I think trying to love myself.
Well, and I think that's the important way to go into it, is just all of this is for the rest of your life. It's just finding easier ways to do it, and to just, again, like some things just kind of fade out. Like some of the negative behaviors just kind of fade. Not that they all go away, but just like you think of any, wound that you get becomes a scar, and then the scar fades out. of hopefully some more of the awful things, the really mean things that you hate about yourself start to fade away. I feel like I've done a good job with that. I definitely don't hate myself the way I used to.
No, I don't either. Definitely not like I used to. And mine is so like day to day, like freaking up and down. Like that's what's confusing. Is like I can be totally fine for like 3 days and then have a day where all of a sudden I hate myself. And it's like, it's so confusing.
That's gotta be hormones, dude. Like dude,
it is. It's like, it's hormones. It's me. Like I totally use like hating myself as a distraction from what's actually happening in my life. Which is what I've learned a lot of in therapy is like, it's easier for me to like use that as a distraction. So if I'm upset about something else, I will like try and numb that by like hating myself. So it's really confusing.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But
I feel like I just let things keep building and building and building in me without addressing them. I'm really good at avoidance with those sorts of things until like then it's just one little pebble hits it and then it's just I hate my life. I hate me. Everything is awful. Like it's just like, and then it's just I let it build and then I volcano explode. And then the cycle starts again. And that's where I'm trying to be like, no, address these things in the moment instead of being like pushing it off to the side.
Right.
Or, just dealing with the things like that. And I think that's just part of the whole process is so much just self-awareness of like, me and you behave like we have different ways that we kind of meet at the same thing of like finding things that we dislike about ourselves. And, walking through those things is harder than losing any damn weight.
Yes. Oh my God. The mental stuff is way harder. I'm like, especially when I've been going through the same cycle for most of my life. So it's like changing that it is no joke.
Yeah. And that's why I'm really glad that we're coming, at least here now, at least I feel like societally, the people are more like, therapy is cool. Like you should talk to a therapist. It's not this like taboo, like, oh, you got a therapist. You know what I mean? Like if you think, I know you haven't watched The Sopranos, right? No. When the time The Sopranos came out, it's the whole thing of like, you got a therapist. Like that was the whole thing about Tony Soprano going to a therapist is like, I would get killed by people if they knew that I saw a therapist. And so it's kind of that vibe of like, nah, you don't need that too. I'm glad that it's now of like, yes, please talk to somebody, especially in this pandemic and addressing that, even if you feel like it didn't affect you that deeply, it's affecting you somehow. There's no way that this, even if you're Jeff Bezos, it still affected him in some way. You know what I mean? Like it made him billions more money. It's still like another thing to deal with of having somebody to talk that out through is just, oh my God. It's so being in therapy for a year now. I will fully vouch that it's not cheap, and I wish my insurance covered it, but it does not. But it's totally worth it of how much calmer and at peace, and I have more understanding of me and my own habits of like really unpacking like binge eating and like what is the core of this and like why do I want to binge eat, and kind of going at it from that perspective instead of being like, well, I just want to stop it. I just want to turn the brakes off of it. And it's like that you have to understand why you're doing it first to get it done. And so, I just think that stuff is so huge.
Yeah, I do too. And I love that that's like when I've been in therapy forever, but when I first started going to therapy, it was taboo. Like it wasn't something that I told anybody. And now I tell almost every single client I have that I go to therapy, and then we talk about our therapists together.
Yeah.
So it's like, as soon as I open up that door, then other people are willing to talk about it. And then it's been interesting right now. Like I thought as the pandemic went on, we would all kind of just adjust and be okay. But it's like I'm watching my clients actually struggle more. So it's awesome to be able to like just be open about that stuff and not have it be taboo.
Yeah, it's because it's just a grind, man. Because it's just never ending. I'm glad that there's good news now that like, there's less cases and, vaccines coming out, whatever your vibe is on vaccines of just like whatever. Hopefully I heard some clip, again, I am not a news source, so don't take my word for this at all. But I listened to a podcast, a news podcast like a week ago. And Dr. Fauci said he predicts that we'll hit herd immunity by the summer. So, everything changes obviously, but it's
right.
That
would be awesome.
Could we potentially be living a little bit more of a normalish life by fall? Like that would be super rad.
Oh, I could cry thinking about it.
Right?
Oh God.
So like,
I just need some hugs in my life. Good God.
Oh, I know. It's
I'm gonna at the point it's okay for me to hug my clients. It's gonna be bad for them. I'm gonna be it's gonna be bad. I'm gonna be like hugging them all for too long, and I just want to hug them all.
Oh, well, hopefully
soon. Let me hold you.
Hopefully soon, man. Yeah, because I want to travel. I want to be able to like sit in a restaurant again, like all of that stuff. Like just be able to like hang with your friends in a normal way, like all of it,
and not have anxiety about it.
Yeah. Or not going to, holidays because you're worried about getting people sick and all of that stuff. Like, man, this time next year, hopefully it is behind us in a very real way.
That's right.
But I feel like, we've gone through a year of it, and that's where I just feel like we're all kind of toasting out. It's just like, oh, remember when we were told this is going to be 2 weeks? And here we are still in this. So,
oh my God,
at least like you can see the light now, like,
right.
At least. And I think that may be more exhausting because I know like just to equate it to fitness of like every time I've run a race, whether it's a 5K or a half marathon, it's like once you like know the finish line is in sight or you're like a half mile from it, for some reason that is the most difficult mile for me. Of like knowing that you're almost, it's like your body starts to just like stop already. And it's like, no, you guys still got to go a mile, damn it. So I feel like it's just kind of like, you can kind of see some light and your body is just like, we're all just kind of like,
we're done.
Yeah. Right. Like just drag me over the finish line and give me a beer, please.
I have passed away. Like, this is it. I am deceased. Oh God.
Well, on that note, I know you need to get to the gym. So
yes,
go get swole. Go do some lifting.
That's right, girl.
And then
gonna go lift some shit.
And when you're done working out, I'll see you at the gym.
Oh my God.
We record virtually and then I'll see you at the gym anyway.
Oh, it's going to be awesome.
All right. Well, I'll talk to you later.
Bye.
For info on health coaching and more, go to AmandaValentineBites.com.